right, everyone, we're gonna get this started. Yes. First up, I want to say good evening to everyone, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. My name is Natalia Restrepo. Thank you, guys. And I am the Civic Engagement Coordinator here in La Colaborativa, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you guys here today. The CVI team, the Chelsea Voter Initiative team, has worked really hard door knocking this summer, getting the word out to the community members to vote and registering those who haven't registered yet. We've been able to have 3,000 conversations where we are able to listen to our voters' concerns and generate questions that we have today for the candidates. A lot of these questions are also from the youth of the Chelsea community, the future. High school students who are very much involved and eager to vote. And will also be able to pass this information to their parents and to their families. Please help me welcome our dear friend, Cheryl Clyburn Crawford, Executive Director from Mass Vote.
Good evening, everybody. I am so excited to be here with La Colaborativa, holding this forum, right? This is such an important platform that we should always provide people with the opportunity to hear from the candidates themselves. So I'm excited tonight to invite Judith Garcia and Roberto Jimenez Rivera to show you what they're talking about. Okay, so there's the rules of engagement. Each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to answer each question. And we'll be passing the microphone over to them and then back over here. So bear with us as we have the awesome Erica Lopez who is translating. So as we begin, I'm going to invite Erica 2 minutes to open up and tell us who you are.
Thank you so much for hosting this. Buenas tardes, buenas noches, mi querido Chelsea. Good evening, everyone. I will take a moment to speak in my native language. Voy a tomar un momento para hablar en mi lengua natal, que es español. Este es un momento histórico para nuestra comunidad. Estamos viviendo un renacimiento después de esta pandemia y yo estoy aquí como candidata, como la primera latina en poder tener la oportunidad de postularme a un cargo tan histórico que nuestra comunidad luchó por más de 32 años para poder obtenerlo. Tenemos líderes en esta comunidad que abrieron la brecha para que yo pudiera estar aquí como candidata y para mí es un honor ser hija de Chelsea, haber nacido en esta comunidad donde mi mamá emigró pasando cantidad de adversidades para encontrarse con otro nivel de adversidades estando aquí en Chelsea. Me acuerdo que consiguió su primer trabajo en una fábrica de salchichas, una fábrica aquí en Chelsea donde hasta el día de hoy trabaja. Ganaba un sueldo mínimo para poder criarme como una hija, como una madre soltera. Luchó muchísimo, como luchan muchos de las familias que están aquí hoy presentes, por muchos de los jóvenes que están aquí, a veces con 2, 3 trabajos para poder tener el sostén, para poder pagar una renta que cada vez es más cara, para poder darle a sus hijos una cobertura médica, para poder darles una educación que en sus países no pudieron darle. En los 23 años, después de haberme graduado de la universidad, regresé a esta comunidad porque desde pequeña, cuando veo estos jóvenes, me acuerdo que yo fui uno de ustedes. Yo soñaba un día poder regresar a esta comunidad y ser parte de la transformación y del cambio. Y en el 2015 me postulé como concejal y a mis 23 años, gracias al apoyo de esta comunidad, fue que ganamos y juntos pudimos lograr muchísimos cambios en esta comunidad. Me siento tan orgullosa de ser parte de una cambios. Pasamos un fondo para ayudar con la asistencia de renta. Yo lideré las iniciativas para ayudar con COVID, ayudamos a los negocios, creamos el primer programa para ayudar a las personas que estaban siendo desplazadas de sus casas y quiero seguir haciendo ese trabajo y podemos llegar a hacer historia. Así que muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much, Judith.
All right, and so now we'll have Roberto Jimenez Rivera introduce himself.
Hola a todos, ¿me oyen? Sí, vamos. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Roberto Jiménez Rivera, soy miembro del comité escolar de aquí de la ciudad, soy un organizador con un sindicato, pero por encima de todo eso soy el papá de un niño que tiene 2 años. Acabo de cumplir hace 2 semanitas y él es el que me mantiene motivado para luchar por su futuro y por el futuro de toda nuestra comunidad. Yo, como muchos de nosotros, vine de otro lugar, que me crié en Puerto Rico. Después de haber estado en Puerto Rico por toda mi vida criándome, me vine acá buscando mejores oportunidades, porque eso es lo que hacen muchas de nuestras familias y terminamos aquí, que es un lugar donde no nos criamos y a lo mejor no fue el lugar donde se criaron sus papás y ahora mismo estamos buscando crear un mejor futuro para nuestra comunidad. Yo pienso mucho en lo que significa la palabra hogar. El hogar de mis papás fue Puerto Rico por muchos años, pero ellos después se fueron y su hogar se convirtió en Boston, porque vivieron en Boston por un tiempo. Después mudaron su hogar de nuevo para Puerto Rico y entonces para mí mi hogar fue Puerto Rico y ahora hemos llegado aquí a Chelsea y Chelsea es mi hogar donde voy a criar a mi familia por el resto de mi vida. Y por eso queremos asegurarnos que el futuro de nuestra ciudad es accesible para los que estamos aquí ya. Nosotros hemos estado, seguimos dejando que construyan más apartamentos de lujo que no son para las personas que están aquí. Seguimos, el costo del cuidado médico sigue subiendo. Cada vez es más y más difícil no solamente vivir en Chelsea, sino sobrevivir, punto. Y yo quiero buscar un futuro donde no estemos sobreviviendo más. Necesitamos solamente no sobrevivir, vivir una buena vida. Y eso es lo que yo estoy buscando. Por eso estamos hablando con los votantes todos los días hablando con más y más votantes para asegurarnos que estamos creando un futuro juntos. Y por eso me estoy postulando y por eso le pido su voto en la elección del 6 de septiembre. Muchas gracias.
Great, thank you. Fantastic. So now we'll begin with the questions. And the first question will come under housing. And we will have Roberto go first. We are confronting displacement due to gentrification. What is your vision for tackling this issue?
Repeat that.
I'll repeat it again. We are confronting displacement due to gentrification. What is your vision for tackling this issue?
Bien. Primero que nada, solamente voy a decir en español rapidito. Como ven, yo hablo español también, así que voy a hablar en inglés porque el intérprete nos está interpretando al español. Si tienen preguntitas después en español de algo que no hayan entendido, pueden venir a donde mí y entonces hablamos. Bien. So I'm going to switch this to English now to make sure that the interpretation is working how it was meant to work. So gentrification is a huge problem in our community. As I said just now, we keep building luxury apartments that the people here, by and large, can't afford. The people who are, so essentially we're letting the housing crisis that exists here today keep going, and instead we're bringing in more and more people. We need to make sure that we are creating housing for the people who are here. I know people who are homeowners who are getting pushed out of our community, and that should not be the case. Renters are getting pushed out, homeowners are increasingly finding it difficult to stay here, so there are things that we need to do in terms of creating more affordable housing, making sure that we are controlling rent so that people can actually afford to pay their rent. We need to make sure that other communities that are not Chelsea are also doing their fair share of affordable housing. We alone cannot fix our housing crisis. We need to make sure that other communities are partnering with us to make sure every single person has a home, has a safe home, has a good home for themselves and for their family. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And now we'll have Garcia, Judith.
Thank you. Yo he visto personas que amo que han tenido que irse de Chelsea porque simplemente no pueden con el costo alto de vida en esta comunidad. La renta sigue subiendo y es de un día para otro donde nuestros residentes se les ve forzado a pagar $700 cuando sus sueldos no suben. Entonces puedo decir que como concejal, llevo 7 años como concejal, donde me comprometí junto a mis colegas, a trabajar junto a mis colegas y a líderes, junto a líderes de esta comunidad, para crear oportunidades para poder pelear este desplazamiento que está existiendo en nuestra comunidad. Pasamos un programa de asistencia de renta que ayudó a muchas personas independientemente del estatus migratorio. También creamos oportunidades para que las personas que quieran ser dueños de casa por primera vez reciban un fondo de $10,000 para poder lograrlo, y como representante estatal quiero comprometerme a ese compromiso, porque es importante que como representantes estatales, como diputados al nivel del Estado, tenemos que abogar no solo por un control de renta, pero también para seguir protegiendo a los inquilinos que se ven desprotegidos por estas leyes. Tenemos que asegurarnos de que se les dé consejo legal gratuito a los inquilinos que a veces no pueden defenderse en una corte porque no tienen un abogado que lo haga. Y la Colaborativa ha liderado en esa iniciativa y me orgullece de que como concejal apoyé esas iniciativas proveyendo fondos del Consejo Municipal, y como representante estatal quiero comprometerme no solo a seguir protegiendo a los inquilinos, darles sus derechos, pero también poder darles la oportunidad como tuvo mi mamá, que cuando no podía pagar su renta, trabajó difícil y eventualmente se hizo la dueña de esa casa. Y creo que nosotros como clase trabajadora necesitamos el derecho de poder ser dueños de esas casas que algún día rentamos. Gracias.
Great. And while you have, so we're going to let you keep the microphone, Judith. Okay? And you'll go first on this next question, which is from Workforce. What is your plan to get people in this community back into better paying jobs? Jobs that give people the power to live in a decent and stable life.
Bueno, la pregunta es, ¿cuál es el plan para poder darle a nuestra comunidad empleos dignos? Y me enorgullece decir que esto ha sido una plataforma que para mí es muy importante, porque si hablamos de la inestabilidad de los hogares, existe más inestabilidad si no tenemos trabajos que nos paguen dignamente. Y honestamente, como concejal he abogado muchísimo. Trabajo para una organización que se llama The Neighborhood Developers y Connect, que se ha enfocado en crear oportunidades de empleo rápido, no solo para grandes profesionales, sino también para personas que están buscando un empleo inmediato, personas que a veces tal vez no tienen la educación o tal vez no tienen el estatus migratorio para poder tener un trabajo rápido. Entonces mi plan como representante estatal va a ser abogar para más fondos sin restricción, fondos que puedan ayudar a organizaciones que ya existen en poder unir a las empresas que están aquí localmente, en ofrecerles trabajos rápidos a las personas que trabajan aquí sin necesidad de pedir un estatus migratorio para poder tener esos trabajos.
Great, thank you. So what I want to say is that we're going to ask the candidates to speak in English for the benefit of everybody that's present. We have an amazing interpreter that is doing translating into Spanish. All right, Roberto. I'll read the question again. Okay. What is your plan to get people in this community back into better paying jobs? Jobs that give the people the power to live in a decent and stable life.
Thank you, and I just want to say thank you to our amazing interpreter, Erika, for doing an amazing job. So, when we think about jobs, I think a lot about the racism that has been inflicted on our community for so many years. We are paying for the pollution that cars going over the Tobin Bridge. There's 60,000 cars going over the bridge every single day. There are dozens of planes going over our heads, ships. All those things are polluting our community and making the life of our people harder. I want to make sure that we are transitioning to clean energy, and that is going to create a lot of jobs, and I want to make sure that we are actually targeting new jobs in those industries that are going to be good union jobs, to make sure that people have good wages, that we're not just fighting for a minimum wage, and make sure that people are actually having access to the jobs in this community over other communities. Because we have already paid the price, we need to make sure that we are getting these benefits first. So in addition to that, I think we've been fighting for a minimum wage increase for years. The fight to increase minimum wage keeps happening. We're still fighting for 15, but really right now the fight should be for 20 or even higher than that. So I want to make sure that we are pegging that minimum wage to inflation so that that minimum wage goes up every single year so that you don't have to fight for a better minimum wage. And that way we can change to other fights that are actually important to make sure that you can't get to work and then all of a sudden your boss tells you, oh, we don't have that many people coming and you got to go home. We're not going to pay you for today. That shouldn't happen. We need to make sure that people are protected in the jobs that they have and then make sure that we are creating new, good jobs for people that are going to ultimately give them the pay that they need to provide for their families. Thank you.
Great, thank you. At this time, I'm going to invite the youth to come up and ask a couple of questions in the education space. So who do we have up first? Tell them your name and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Azaria Spontano, and I'm a CVI youth at La Colaborativa. And my question is, how will you bring vocational education to Chelsea?
So vocational education is incredibly important to the people of this community. It's a pathway to good jobs that are going to pay people, you're going to be a member of a union, so you're going to be protected. You're going to have people backing you up to make sure that you're actually getting paid and instead of having your wage be stolen from you. So I want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to create partnerships with the Northeast Vocational School and making sure that we also have programs here in Chelsea Public Schools. We need to make sure that we are expanding our offerings and connecting with other communities, connecting with unions so that they are creating apprenticeships for students who are in our community and making sure that they're targeted to everybody, not just to, I know that there are challenges with undocumented youth. We need to make sure that those youth also have access to these training programs and make sure that we are creating opportunities for everybody in our community to have access to vocational education and to good union jobs. Thank you.
And Judith will answer the same question.
Se me hace muy difícil hablar en inglés. I know it's hard to speak in English because quiero realmente honrar a la comunidad que está aquí. Y lo que voy a decir es esto: la educación vocacional es sumamente importante para todos nuestros jóvenes, poder ofrecerles otras avenidas. Mi sueño como representante estatal, que sé que la colaborativa ya ha abierto esa oportunidad, quiero darle la oportunidad, quiero darle un mencionamiento especial a Ana, que sé que ha liderado muchísimo el entender cuáles son las brechas que tenemos que cubrir con la educación vocacional, pero mi sueño sería ver educación vocacional implementada desde el 7º grado para arriba, porque creo que nuestros jóvenes empiezan a pensar en educación vocacional a esa edad. Entonces creo de que tenemos que seguir creando programas donde la educación vocacional empiece a una temprana edad como una opción realista para nuestra juventud, y aún más que eso, creo que tenemos que romper esos esquemas y esas barreras que existen hasta el día de hoy para poder aceptar a nuestros niños que estudien ahí. No es justo que si los niños no saben hablar inglés, no pueden estudiar en escuelas vocacionales. Entonces necesitamos incrementar el fondo para las escuelas vocacionales y hacerlas más asequibles en nuestra propia comunidad. Así que esa es mi respuesta sobre las escuelas vocacionales.
I just really want for you to please speak in English because we have a lot of youth that don't speak Spanish and we have our interpreter. So please, candidates, please answer in English. Thank you.
And our second question, you are?
Hi, my name is Tanea, and my question is, youth have identified a lack of racial and cultural representation among school, administrative, and teaching staff. How would you ensure that our youth have role models of color in our school system?
Thank you so much for that question. So I will say this: I think as a student who studied in our Chelsea public school systems, the teachers that had the most impact in my life were the teachers that looked like me. because I saw a potential future. And I will say that as a city councilor, one of the things that we did, and I'm proud of, is we realized that we need to give opportunities for teachers of color to be earning a similar wage than other teachers. And what we did, not that we're doing that now, but I would be advocating for that at the state representative level, ensuring that we're creating salaries that are competent enough to make sure that teachers that look like us feel inspired to apply. But above that, something that I'm proud of, that was a project that we did, is we made sure to offer funding opportunities so teachers of color who have been teachers, like Marta Valentin, who was a teacher in our public schools for over 40 years, we gave her the funding to go get higher education and get all the certifications that she needed to be able to finally become a teacher in our elementary school today. So we need to provide teachers of color the opportunity to study and provide that funding so they can look at communities like Chelsea and say, hey, I want to teach at Chelsea Public Schools and make an impact in the lives of our kids. So I will be advocating for more funding, advocating for our salary, for the salaries of our teachers to be competent, similar to the ones in Cambridge and in Boston.
Great.
Great. So I'm going to share a little bit of the work that I've already been doing on this issue, because I agree that it is a huge, important issue. We know that one educator of color can make the difference in a child's life and improve their outcomes in their life forever. If you have two, the research shows that it's actually amazing how much better you do. So we know that this is important, not just because we see it in our schools and our kids tell us, but because we have proof. We have proof that tells us that we need this. And so I have been working with legislators already on a bill that is going to create more funding for our schools to help our students go into education. As a member of the school committee, we have created pathways for our students to go into education, for our paraprofessionals to become full teachers, and for members of our community to become paraprofessionals. We're doing everything that we can to create those pipelines. Unfortunately, the challenge is that it takes a while for somebody to become a teacher. So the other thing that we have to do is make sure that the few educators of color that we have, we're listening to them, because often they are leaving the profession because they feel like we're not actually listening to them. And if we have teachers of color telling us there are issues here, we need to change whatever it is, we have to listen to those teachers. Instead, we often tell them, oh no, your voice doesn't matter, and so they end up leaving, right? So we need to not only make sure that we are creating more teachers, but make sure that we're keeping the ones that we already have. And that's the work that I've already been doing. There's a bill in the State House that we have already been advocating for, and I look forward to continuing to do that work at the State House, pushing for this bill come January. Thank you.
And now we'll have our third question by the youth from La Colaborativa.
Hi, my name is Daniela. I'm part of the CBI team, and my question is, many youth have had difficulty accessing guidance counselors, social workers, and other mental health professionals within their schools. How would you increase access to these crucial services?
Roberta.
So we have already been increasing, over the last 2 years, we are hiring over 80 new people to staff our schools, and these are new educators, new social workers, new counselors, all of these different things, because we understand the importance of this. The problem is that for many, many years, Chelsea schools have been severely underfunded. We haven't had the money to do it. And so that's why I, along with advocates from across the state, including people who are here today, we have been fighting for many years to fix the funding formula so that the state would be giving us the money that our kids deserved in our schools. And so in 2019, we passed this law called the Student Opportunity Act. That is now bringing millions and millions of dollars to our schools that are helping us give our kids the education that they deserve. That work happens in partnership with people from Chelsea and people from across this region, Everett, Revere, but also people from across the state. And that is the kind of work that we need to make sure that people have access to every single educational opportunity. We need to build partnerships across our region and across the state. That is the work that I have already been doing, and that is the work that I will continue to do at an even higher level as your next state representative. Thank you.
the question touches very good points about guidance counselors, but above that, mental health. And mental health is one of the most difficult challenges that we're facing. It is appalling to me that our suicide rate in our nation is higher than our homicide rate. And this is very telling of how much our children need mental health services. Yes, they need guidance counselors, but above all, what our kids need, more than funding for guidance counselors at the school level, I think we need to think of innovative ways of ensuring that our kids get the help that they need. We need to create a teen center here in Chelsea, in our community, where our kids can go and have recreational activities, where our kids can get the guidance counseling help that they need to dream about not only college, but vocational school. But we also need them to create a safe space where they can get the mental health services that they need right here at their home, away from schools, when there's free time that they need to take. So I'm going to be advocating for more funding, yes, for guidance counselors, but above more, I am going to be advocating for a teen center for our kids where they can really feel that they can be kids and that they can have the mental health treatment that they so much deserve. Thank you.
We're going to thank the first three young leaders. They're leaders. We're developing our next generation of leadership. They did so great. We're going to invite three more leaders to come up and share with you a question. You know, this is about their future as much as it is about ours. So come on up, introduce yourself, your name. First.
Hi, my name is Ann, and we're going to be asking you guys a few questions. The first question is, like, what are you guys as candidates going to do about, what are you guys going to do for the Black community in Chelsea?
Thank you so much for that question. You know, I've had the privilege, and I need to give a special shout out, more than saying, what am I going to do? I think what is important is continue to foster and cultivate relationships with the existing community here, the Chelsea Black community here, that every day, every year, they show up by doing events, by talking about the difficult topics that we need to be caring for. But above all, I think that we need to come together, and as a state representative, my goal is to listen to the needs of your community, that is our community, because we're one Chelsea. And when we talk about tackling issues, we need to tackle them by making sure that everyone is included in the conversation, and by everyone, I mean everyone. So that's what I will do as a state representative, to ensure that you're a part of the conversation, to ensure that we bring the Chelsea Black community as a part and a leader and an ally.
We're going to go ahead and repeat the question.
What are you, as a representative, going to do for the Black community in Chelsea?
Thank you for that question, and that is a really important question that I think it approaches the subject of intersectionality, right? We know that Latinos have a lot of challenges, but also the Black community has some challenges that are very different, right? And it goes down to a white family, when a child is born, on average they have about $150,000 in their net worth. A Black child has $8. Right? So we know that Black families are having a very challenging time in making up these gaps that already exist, right? And we need to do everything in our power to create opportunities for our Black youth, and also making sure that we are not criminalizing our students in our schools. A lot of times we see gaps in discipline. You see Black children are suspended more often, and they are disciplined more often. We need to make sure that we are keeping track of that, so we're not actually pushing kids to the school to prison pipeline from an early age. So that is really important. And then number two, we also know that there are huge gaps in terms of health outcomes between black community members and white community members. So we need to make sure that we are investing in our healthcare system so that every single person in our community can have access to the healthcare that they need without having to pay hundreds if not thousands of dollars every year. I want to make sure that no parent is actually having to go to the emergency room, sitting outside a parking lot, waiting to see if the fever doesn't break. I want to make sure that that parent is just going to go inside the ER, make sure that their kid gets the services, right? And make sure that our pregnant women are actually getting the services that they need, because we know that black women are more likely to die giving birth than any other group of pregnant women. We need to make sure that we are reducing those disparities, and we do that by investing in our community, investing in our healthcare system, investing in housing, and investing in good jobs. We invest in these things for everybody, but they are going to disproportionately help the communities that have been hit the hardest by injustice, which is primarily the black community. Thank you.
The second question is, we all know that the Latino community needs support, but many of the African American youth we interviewed felt that their voices are never heard. How will you balance the priorities of both the Latino and the African American community so that we can have our voices heard?
Yeah, so I think the counselor addressed this, right? Like, we have a very strong and vibrant Chelsea black community here, and I am proud to be in community with a lot of these folks and have the support of many of our black elders in this community. And I want to make sure that we are continuing to strengthen that and make sure that we are creating opportunities for, so that it's not just our Latino focused organizations when we have events like this, right? We need to make sure that we are bringing in our Chelsea black community, engaging other folks who might not be involved in the CBC, so that we're actually engaging everybody in our community, right? I think it is. I want to make sure that we are not. When we separate into these different categories, we lose power, right? The idea of a person of color was created so that we could fight together and have more power together. So, centering black lives, centering black voices, right? One of the things that I did, one of the first few things that I did as a school committee member is I introduced a resolution that was in support of Congresswoman Ayanna Presley's work in Congress, making sure that we were doing everything we could to reduce police violence against black lives, making sure that we were protecting people. And so that is the kind of work that I have done. It's the kind of work that I hope to continue to do. But then on top of that, right, as I said earlier, anything that we do for the people who are hardest hit by racism in our community is going to be disproportionately supporting people in the black community. So I think we have to absolutely make sure that we are improving like I said, our healthcare system, improving our public transit, black and Latino residents are more likely to use public transit as well. We need to make sure that we are strengthening our public systems so that black workers can get to their jobs, they can get to their medical appointments, they can get to take their kids to school. We need to make sure that we are doing all of these things to support our black community as well. Thank you.
Right. And now we'll have our third question.
Hi. Sorry.
It's okay, it's okay. So I will say this. I think that when we talk about the black experience, the Latino experience, the undocumented experience, we all need to be together in this. And when we talk about how we unite, we need to do it, and the time to do it is now. And yes, for me, I feel that we face the similar challenges when we look at communities like Everett, when we look at communities like Chelsea. We need to stop the divisive language of I belong to this group and you belong to that group. We need to unite and really understand that at the very core, what keeps us grounded is the fact that we're all facing similar challenges. We're facing challenges of affordable housing. We're facing challenges of healthcare. We're facing challenges of transportation. And we need to tackle these challenges and include the voices of all. As a city councilwoman, I am proud that we've pushed the envelope in the city of Chelsea by creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion department within our city to really tackle a lot of the systemic racism, systemic challenges that are happening in our community. So for me, my commitment is about action, and I've proven that at the municipal level. And as a state representative, I look forward to continue the extension of that work, but no longer dividing us into groups, but finding unity and saying how us, as different groups, as different ethnicities, can we come together to really tackle the big challenges.
And now we'll have our third question.
Hi, I'm Angel Tate. This is the third question. We surveyed over 100 youth in Chelsea, and we found that Black youth in particular were the most likely not to have a safe space in our community. How will you make Chelsea a safer community for African American youth?
So I will say that all of our youth deserve a safe space. And I've heard it many times over when I knock on those doors, when I talk to this youth. I'm so proud to say that my campaign and this movement has been powered by youth. And I hear it all the time. Our kids need a teen center. They need a teen center where they feel safe, where they feel welcomed. They need a center where they can find employment opportunities, where they can dream, where they can hope. So when I think about creating safe space, I think about that. I think about actually creating a space where our kids could unite, can come together, advocate, mobilize, and be a part of the civic engagement process that's really going to bring change. Because I hope that our youth continue to show up and ask and place accountability on elected leaders to ensure that the voices of Black youth, but of all youth, are also included in the transformation of this community.
I guess I have to first kind of disagree with the counselor, what she said earlier, that we're all kind of, the same. I believe in seeing the differences between our people and lifting the differences between our communities and working together to make sure that we are understanding the impact of different people's lives, right? And to that, I believe that we do need a community center. That is something that I hear from folks all the time. We need a community center for our youth. We need a community center for our organizations. We need places for people here to gather. And then we need to make sure that we are creating spaces in after-school programs so that kids can get involved and make sure that we're actually giving them things to do. And then in addition to that, among these things that we need to do is we need to create spaces for our Black youth to be together and talk about what are some of the ideas that they have to further improve our community. I also want to visit Black and Latino are not entirely separate, right? There are many Black Afro-Latinos who are part of the Black community, and their experience is different than my experience as a Latino who is not African American or Black. I want to make sure that we are listening to all these different voices so that we can actually center the voices of those who are most marginalized and make sure that we are creating the spaces that they want to organize around, and that we are then just creating these opportunities for everybody in our community. Thank you.
Great. Let's give it up for our youth, the next generation of leadership. Great, thank you. We're going to keep moving here. We're going to talk about environmental and transit equity. First question, Roberto. What are your plans for a cleaner Chelsea?
Cleaner Chelsea. Cleaner, okay.
Cleaner.
How are we going to clean up our city? I guess the first thing I want to do is I want to thank the hardworking folks at the city, at DPW, for all the work that they do. They work really, really hard. But the reality is that our cities often don't have the resources that they need to do the kind of work that we need. So one of the things that I want to make sure that we're doing is, as a state, we should be providing more resources to communities like Chelsea, where the tax base is not as high as it is in other communities that are, better kept, because they have so much money that they can just just, pay, so many more people to clean our city. And I want to make sure that we are doing that. However, beyond that, I think one of the things that we need to make sure that we're doing is investing in people. If we give people opportunities, they are going to be engaged, in after-school programs. If there are kids, we need to make sure that we're creating spaces for people to gather, going back to the community center idea. If we create these spaces and these opportunities for people, our city will be cleaner because, we'll know where people are. They won't be just, throwing trash in wherever, in whatever corner, right? It's about creating opportunities and thinking about people, right? At the end of the day, if we create good opportunities for the people of our community, people will be better off and our community will be better off, and I think we will end up with a cleaner city. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Judith.
We create a cleaner Chelsea once we hold polluters accountable. That's when we create a cleaner Chelsea. It is not enough anymore that they continue to see us as a dumping site where they can come and do whatever they want. So as a state representative, I will continue to hold them accountable. It is time that our kids that are here have access to a waterfront. Because it is unbearable to me that our kids sometimes don't even know that we're a community that should have access to a waterfront. When I think about a cleaner Chelsea, I think about creating more open space, creating parks for our people to have access to. Because the reality is that we are shouldering in our backyards the polluters, the people that are creating asthma within our community, and that has to stop. So as a state representative, I will hold polluters accountable, and I will fight to create the infrastructure that will provide healthier lives to our residents. That's how you keep a cleaner Chelsea.
All right, so this is our final question before the lightning round. So Judith, you're going to be one out of 160 members in the House of Representatives. How will you make sure Chelsea voices are heard?
So one person out of 160 members. Chelsea, for the first time, gets the unique opportunity to have someone out there representing us. So I won't lie to you, and I won't say here that we are going to do everything in 2 years. But I will say this, as a state representative, I will make sure to uplift the voices of this community, to work in partnership and collaboration with the city leaders here who are experts in their field, to really bring change at the state level and come up with innovative policy ideas that we can push forward at the state level. As a city councilwoman, I know the importance of coalition building. I know the importance of legislating in partnership and counting your votes before you present that into legislation. So I look forward to bringing my leadership skills as a city councilwoman, but above all, I look forward to working with the leaders of this community to really present innovative policies that we have already implemented here. For example, the anti-wage theft ordinance that this city spearheaded has still not passed at the state, and that has to change. This small community has fought for itself. It has accomplished so much in partnership. So I look forward to creating that partnership, moving out there, speaking out like I have done so relentlessly as a city councilwoman.
You are going to be one out of 160 members in the House of Representatives. How will you make sure Chelsea's voices are heard?
So, 1 out of 160. That means that we need 80 more people to pass any bill. As an advocate right now, the work that I have been doing has been lifting the voices of our people. In 2019, we passed this law that was going to bring us millions of dollars for our schools. Then the pandemic started. The money all of a sudden was gone. What did I do? I wrote a letter. I called every city councilor. I called every school committee member in Chelsea. They joined that letter. Then I said, how can we go bigger? I called every city councilor and every school committee member in 26, the biggest 26 cities in Massachusetts, and we got over 130 people to sign that letter. We went out there, we got coverage, we talked to legislators, we got our money back. That is the kind of work that I want to make sure that we are doing for our community, because our challenges are not unique to Chelsea. It is expensive to live in Chelsea. It is expensive to live in Brockton, in Boston, in Worcester. We need to build those partnerships, and that is what I have been doing for years. I was able to get those folks to join me because they know the kind of work that I've been doing, right? And that is what I promise you that I will continue to do. I will bring you with me to the State House, but then I will make sure that we are bringing our partners from every single city that has challenges similar to ours, so that we can then make sure that we're not just lifting our voices, but getting solutions passed. That's the work that I have been doing, and that is the work that I will continue to do as your next state representative. Thank you.
Great. So that was our final question. We're going to invite each of the candidates, starting with Roberto, 2 minutes to close and tell us why we should vote for them on September. We're not. Sorry, timing, unfortunately. But we do want to give you the opportunity to close and let us know why they should vote for you no later than September 6th.
And thank you, Cheryl, for all the work that you've done on voting rights and making sure people have access to the ballot in our community. We have 4 weeks left before this election. We have been building a big, broad movement in our city. We have the support of community leaders. We have a number of different labor unions supporting us, representing over 200,000 members across Massachusetts. We have environmental organizations, social workers are with us, teachers are with us. We are building an amazing movement in our city that is going to live during this campaign and after this campaign to make sure that we are fighting for you, for every single one of you who lives in our city. And I can promise you that I will work my butt off to make sure that the people of this community have access to the healthcare that they need, make sure that you have a roof over your head and that your rent isn't going up $500–600 every year. That is the kind of things that we're seeing in our community, and we need to make sure that we are protecting you from greedy landlords, from people who want to take advantage of our community to make millions and millions of dollars. We need to make sure that we're investing in the people of the city. That is what I promise you that I will do as your state representative, to make sure that you, your children, and your grandchildren are able to remain in this community if you want to, and not get pushed out of the city. Because otherwise, if we don't fight for it, we are going to lose our community. And that is, I will not let that happen. And that is why I'm here running for state representative. And I humbly ask for your support on September 6th. If you have any questions, please come see me afterwards. Si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor, vengan a verme. Y esperemos contar con su voto en la elección del 6 de septiembre. Thank you all so much for coming today.
It is time for our community to elect and decide who the leader of this seat, that is our seat, should be. And I am asking you, as a daughter of this community, as a youth person, that when I see these kids, I remember that I was here not too long ago, dreaming and fighting as a child to make this community a better place. And Chelsea gave me my most precious gifts. It gave me home, it gave me purpose, it gave me belonging. And that's why I was invested in this community. I had a vision for Chelsea, and I returned to my community to make it a better place. And now that we have the unique opportunity to send someone to the state level to fight for us, I ask that you choose one of your own, that you take a shot on one of your kids who went through lots of adversity, but never lost sight of what is possible for Chelsea. Entonces le digo a mi gente, nosotros tenemos la oportunidad de elegir quién es nuestro representante estatal, porque esa silla es de Chelsea. Esa silla tuvimos que pelear 32 años para lograrlo. Y yo les pido, como hija de Chelsea, como una persona, como una joven que sufrió tanta adversidad, pero nunca perdió la esperanza en lo mejor que podemos lograr con esta comunidad. Yo les pido que voten por una hija de Chelsea, que no pierdan las esperanzas en la juventud, porque podemos lograr muchos cambios. We can tackle affordable housing, we could get better jobs, we can improve our transportation, we could have better representation, someone that looks like ourselves at the state level. Así que les pido que voten por alguien que realmente va a pelear y luchar por viviendas a bajo costo, por transportación, por educación. Escojamos a una de las nuestras, a una hija suya. Les pido que voten por Judith García el 6 de septiembre. Muchísimas gracias.
All right, guys, so like the candidate said, please don't forget to vote September 6th. If you guys are not registered to vote, we can register you guys today in that yellow table over there. But I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank our interpreter, Erika Lopez, who helped break the language barrier. It's so important that everybody here understood what was said today. I also want to thank Ricky from Chelsea Cable. I want to thank the CBI team, the adult CBI team, the youth CBI team, who door knock every day and remind our people to please get out and vote. But most importantly, I want to thank everyone, all of you guys, for being here today. Thank you so much.